Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. Some of you, of course, are in Australia, so it's or New Zealand or somewhere else in Asia. So yeah, Rudy is here, as you can see. There he is. It's been a nice day here for a change. It did rain a little bit early on today, but it's been pretty nice. So if you're watching this recorded, jump about 10 minutes because right now I'm just saying hello to everyone. We started a little bit earlier than usual, as usual. Jake's Custom Parts is here. MW3516405 says bonjour. Lee Van Queef, 2008, too big to go under rug. Yeah, I agree. And 2012 as well. That was the European sovereign debt crisis. At least the pigs, right? Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. And the reason Mario Draghi had to throw everything at it, he said, we're going to do whatever it take or print as much as they needed, is because it was going to spread to France and all the other countries, the UK, the US, everything was going to implode. So it's never been solved. Why? Well, because we've taken on even more debt since then, and interest rates have gone up quite a lot. Well, multiples. Our Elkis is here. Marek Kolenda, Russian warships in Cuba. Yes, they are. Cozy Fantuti, good evening, Cozy Fantuti. HR, good morning from Australia. 5:35 a.m. I got up at 5:45 this morning because I went to play golf today, actually, for the first time since my surgery in April, and it went well. I mean, I played all right. I hadn't played in a long time, but I felt really good. I wasn't getting breathless or anything, so that was good. It looks like they fixed me, my heart or the valve. Brady Girding says hello, everyone. Dutch Libertarian. Good day, Mario and Rudy. Yeah, there's Rudy. Uh, have fun out there, stackers and friends. Tomorrow, early day for me. I need to skip this one. All right. Yeah, I guess in the Netherlands it's 10 o'clock. So yeah, here in the UK it's 9. HR says, remember in November 2022, we had the first ever global yield curve inversion. Well, I think yield curves have inverted several times. Maybe there's more than maybe there's the most countries that had inverted yield curves, but that happens quite regularly. Andrew Bevan from sunny Jersey, Ant H. Luis Claudio, just in time for my coffee with milk. Yeah, I'm having a coffee with my old Billy mug. Says Billy says snore on and keep stacking. Some of you remember Billy. Um, have some coffee here too. Hi, Silver says hello, Hi, Mario. Bonjour. Rich Tugas from Montreal. Charlotte, North Carolina. Soul brother. Yeah, I was watching the golf, the U.S. Open from Pinehurst, North Carolina. I'm not sure if uh, if you're near Pinehurst. Zabinator says hello, Mario. Pablo Pina's here. Darren Smith, MIK. Belly Dance Arabia says shalom. Gianfranco Bergagna. Hi, Gianfranco. Good evening. Buonasera. uh, John O'Keefe, John Honduras, Joseph 56. Happy Father's Day. Yeah, it is Father's Day. Uh, I mean, yeah, I'm not, I don't really care too much about all these days, Father's Days and whatever. It's nice, but it's not what really matters in my opinion in the long term. But anyway, it helps the sales of cards. Vonnie Michelle from Canada. So yeah, today we're gonna look a little bit of what's happening in France. Uh, I mean, basically their bond market, it's not collapsing, but the yields are spiking because they've called this snap election. It's gonna start towards the end of the month, and I think it's from the I think it starts next Sunday and it goes to the 7th of July. So it's two rounds. And yeah, we're gonna look at that. Robert Justice played golf, Goldfinger. No, no, I didn't play like Goldfinger. Uh, Morgan Maristeri just saw a big swear. Said Ted Butler died. Yeah, the old Ted Butler. He passed away. Yeah, there's a young Ted Butler that I have interviewed. He's also an analyst in the silver and gold market. He's based out of the Isle of Man, much younger. Joseph 56 has daughters working the tournament in Pinehurst. Yeah, I was watching it before I started the live stream. I've turned it off. I'll have plenty of time to watch it after this. Glad to hear you're on the mend. Read the law, fiat money, read the law, fiat money inflation over the weekend. Very similar to what is being whipped up now. I agree. I agree. Human nature never changes. Those two books I highly recommend if people want to understand what's going on right now. And I could see it coming when I first read it, like over 20 years ago. The law, of course, is more of a philosophical book, but I agree with everything he wrote there, John Law. Unfortunately, many people, yeah, everything's been perverted, unfortunately. Pete Dutoit from South Africa, he's in the house. Soul Brother in the Macedon. Alan P. from Texas, Scottish Borders, Andrew Brown, Dylan Roberts. He's seems to be here every Sunday. Last Sunday, I didn't do a live stream. I did do a video last Sunday, but I couldn't make it for a live stream. B. Hoddle XRP. My wife wants me to take her to Paris. Well, it's a nice city to visit. Um, I'm not sure, they sometimes do have protests, but the thing is, the media, of course, they focus on these protests and stuff. But I think the worst time to go was back in 2017 or 18. They had the yellow vests. That was very serious. Now it's calmed down quite a bit. We got another minute here. Marty McFly, gold is money, everything else is credit. Yeah, that was John Pierpont Morgan, JP Morgan, who said that. Scott 49140 bought the book When Money Dies. Looking forward to reading it and reading firsthand accounts of Weimar. Fox Moongaze, hi from howdy from Hampshire, UK. First time chatter from Horse Pasture, Virginia, Mayo River Homestead. I see you here. Josh Porter. How is the golf? It was all right, actually. I haven't played. Actually, I haven't played in 6 months because in January when I went to see the cardiologist, he told me you should stop. So yeah, and I hit balls last week, and also this week I went to the driving range. So I played well, but a little bit inconsistent because I haven't played in 6 months. I made like eight pars, but I think I made too many of the bogeys and plus, which isn't good. So wasn't too unhappy, and I actually didn't get winded, didn't get tired. So it looks like things are going well. Um, let's see how many we've got here. So it's 9 o'clock now. Um, Yeah, we've got 350 viewers. So, yeah, a French sovereign debt crisis would spread rapidly. And yeah, I'm not saying there's going to be a sovereign debt crisis. I mean, we had a guilt crisis in 2022. uh, in September in the UK. The only way they were able to stop it because it was going to bring down part of the private pension sector, the defined benefit pensions. They had to do not QE, right? The Bank of England had to intervene. Uh, I think it's still early days for the French market. I see that the 10-year yield in France has risen quite a bit. And also, uh, what happens is when there are uh, when there are problems in the European sovereign debt market, especially in the EU or Eurozone, which is the countries that use the euro. The government bond yields are always compared to the German government bond yields. And why is that? Well, because the German government bond market and German government bonds are the benchmark bonds. They're the safest bonds in the Eurozone. So and most, I think all other Eurozone government bonds, their yields are higher than the German government bond. Maybe the Dutch might be lower, but the Dutch government bond market is a lot smaller. So we are the difference between the French and the German government bond or the spread is rising, and that's a bad thing. It's still early days, but I think, as I said earlier, back in 2011, 2012, we had the Mediterranean, Southern Europe debt crisis. You had Portugal, Italy. We had Ireland as well. I know it's not Southern Europe, but it was there. Greece and Spain. It was called the pigs. And government bond yields, like the Greek yields, went to 40%, the 10-year. And by July, I think it was July 2012, the president of the ECB, Mario Draghi, he had to basically say they're going to do whatever it takes to contain that crisis. And how do they do that? Well, by throwing a lot of funny money at it, more QE. But I think with France, uh, we need to wait until the result of these snap elections. And the worry, of course, is that the far right will win control of the legislature in Paris, and that they're going to spend a lot more. Uh, I mean, they're not looking to leave the EU anymore. Marine Le Pen, I think back in 2017, 2018, that was her goal, but not anymore. But this could be serious, and it could spread. It could bring back problems for those countries that had a sovereign debt crisis back in 2011, 2012. I don't think anything has been done, as I said earlier, to solve the problem. And why? Well, because the debt is ballooned even more. So yeah, and the other thing as well that we need to keep an eye on is volatility in the market, and because there's so much derivatives uh, in all the financial systems, not just in the US, it's also in the Eurozone, in the UK. A lot of these government bond markets, and I worked as a futures and options broker in the government bond market for 20 years. And I bet I haven't worked for a while in these markets, but I bet, yeah, things are even more leveraged. There's talk that there's over a quadrillion of notional contracts. And all these derivatives, the other thing that's really dangerous about derivatives, and I've spoken a lot in the past about derivatives, but not so much lately, is that derivatives are not on the balance sheet of banks. And a lot of these government bond and interest rates derivatives, they're also not, they're traded sometimes over the counter, not on an exchange. I mean, I was a government bond futures and options broker, and all the business I did were on exchanges, but there's a lot of it over the counter. I would say the bulk of it. So very opaque, and I think that's very dangerous. So let's look at some of your questions. That tonight is a night as well that you guys can ask questions. I'm going to try to focus more on questions. We can look at some charts of gold and silver as well. I think they still look really good on a long-term basis. Whose books did all the pigs that go onto? Well, a lot of it is the ECB, and the other country that is financing a lot of this is the Germans, the Bundesbank. But I think a lot of banks, a lot of pension funds, they bought it because it sounds crazy, but if the European Central Bank comes out and says, well, we're going to back it no matter what, everyone ran for it, and that's how they do it. So, yeah, it's all over. It's held by, I would say, a lot of the too big to fail banks in the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Japan, Australia. They're all holding these bonds. And yeah, that's why they're so dangerous. And the financial system, our monetary system, is backed by a lot of government bonds. Uh, our Elkas via Brazil watching here in LA, 1307 Pacific. Will a black swan event collapse UK bond market? Well, there was one back in 2022. A lot of people blame Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, the mini budget, but that was partly the problem. But bond yields were rising before the Truss government came to power and presented the mini budget. And why? Well, because very few people, I haven't heard anyone talk about this except me. I've spoken about it a few times, but back in beginning of September, the UK High Court would upheld this decision by the government to change the structure, basically to change the structure of linkers, which are UK government bonds that make up 20% of all UK government debt. And this is linked to inflation, but it was linked to RPI. And this decision, they decided to link it to CPI from 2030. Yes. But what that meant is that pension funds are going to get a lot more because our CPI is a lot lower than RPI. So I think, yeah, that was a technical default, and no one mentioned that. And that's when the UK gilt market started going down. And I think the mini budget just exacerbated it. So that was the black swan. While the black swan now could be France and the elections there, it could it could create contagion if the French bond market comes under even more pressure than it did in the last week or two. And it hasn't really gone up. The yields have gone up, but they're still below 4%. But it could be France that kicks off, could be the first domino, and it would affect the UK, would affect a lot of government bond markets. Metal Sear, thank you for your super chat. My grandfather gave me a gold coin for my 10th birthday. Start your kids stacking early, even if just gold backs. Happy Father's Day, I guess. Yeah, it's always yeah, it's nice to give kids some coins because yeah, coins are history as well. You can learn a lot from coins. Starfire Reborn says, good evening, Mayor from New England. And Daily, who's selling gold to China? If everyone knows gold is only going up. I'm not sure everyone knows that gold is only going up, because then everyone would be buying. There's always a buyer and a seller. So who's selling gold to China? Well, they're buying from everywhere. They're yeah, they're buying in there's an international market, especially, Dubai, Singapore, London, New York. So yeah, they're buying from everywhere. And of course, they are the second biggest producer of gold in the world, and all of their gold production stays in China. And yes, they didn't buy, well, the People's Bank of China didn't increase their holdings in May, but it doesn't mean they've stopped. I think they're going to continue. It's not over yet. Uh, Joan Ramon Guinjon, what about banks in Andorra? Uh, well, I don't know much about Andorra except that it's, a kind of a tax haven, if you want to call it. But I don't know much about the Andorran banks. I don't trust any bank anywhere, really. They're all the same. I think the best bank is your bank. As Jim Sinclair used to say, you need to be your own central banker, and try to leave as little as you can in the bank, because I think even in Andorra, your bank deposits are considered an unsecured loan to the bank. Commercial real estate problems in the UK. Yeah, I think so too. We don't hear much about the UK, but I think we're on this in the same boat as in the US. Uh, Elka says, still reading The Price of Time. Yeah, it's a good book by Edward Chancellor. Yeah, it's a good book. Fox Mongoose, do you have a precious metals verifier? Um, Not really, because I always, if I'm gonna buy gold and silver, I do it from usually gold investments and sometimes others that I've known for years. And I try not, I haven't bought stuff in on eBay for many, many years. So I'm not really too concerned. Uh, this is here the gold balance. Yeah, the gold coin scale. I think I've advertised this for the people who make this gold coin scale. I don't know if they still have more, have some. This is for 1 ounce gold coins, but I don't have a verifier. One thing I do have though is this here. I'll show you guys. This is a very strong magnet. So gold and silver are not magnetic. So if you just, I've got like a silver coin here, it doesn't stick. So that's really the first test. You know, if it is magnetic, it's not gold and silver. The other thing as well, I've been stacking gold and silver since 2002, and you get used to when you hold a coin and you look at it and you feel the coin, you know straight away if it's fake. But that's why, you know, when people ask me who should I use, uh, where should I go to buy gold and silver? That's why I've got my affiliates. I didn't start this channel to sell gold and silver, even though I talk a lot about it. But people ask me, so that's the way it goes. So in the US, we've got Miles Franklin, who's been in business since 1989. I think they're reputable. They're not going to sell you fake gold or silver. And Gold Investments in the UK. So yeah, if you're interested, the details are below in the description. Yeah, there are some other ways of testing gold and silver, especially jewelry with an acid. You have to like make an indentation in the gold and put the acid. If it turns, I think it turns green, it's not gold. There's different tests. You can buy that. It's a bit cheaper than buying like an electronic gold and silver tester. That's more expensive. If you're going to buy a lot, it could be worth doing it. But as I said, go to a reputable dealer and get, you know, everything on paper. And yeah, I've spoken to Oliver Temple at Gold Investments about fake gold and silver, and he said, you know, that company's been in business since 1981. Yeah, they might have had one or two cases that they bought fake, but no, it doesn't happen very often unless you're going to buy it from privately from someone. You got to be careful. And Rick and Fed, thank you for your super chat. Says thank you for your help. Oh, you're welcome. Teague Materi, thank you for your super chat. Uh, when the crash happens and the masses move from risk to risk off investments, do you consider Bitcoin to be risk off, risk on or off? Thanks. Uh, you know, Bitcoin wasn't around in '08 when we had the crash, and I think in 2020 it didn't do really well either. So, you know, gold crashed very quickly from 1750 to 1450 in 2020, but it picked up again. But Bitcoin hasn't really been tested in a massive systemic crisis. Um, I don't cover Bitcoin. I used to cover quite a bit more up until 2017, but I still used to tell people if you're gonna have Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, to not put too much into it because it's very risky and very volatile. So yeah, that's the way I see it. But Bitcoin seems to be more, I would say, co it correlates more. It follows more like the Nasdaq. So yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I don't have much exposure to Bitcoin at all. Not that much at all. I've got an old private fund in Bitcoin, but yeah, that money. I mean, I've gotten the investment back, but it's a private fund. So there you go. Here's your 18. What do you think about what do you think about death of the high street in the UK? Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with online shopping, of course, and also with the big malls, right? Like Blue Water, for example, and others. People would rather go to like a place like that. The other reason why I think the high street is in trouble is because of what happened during COVID. They killed a lot of small businesses with their lockdown, with unnecessary lockdown, and they allowed the Amazon and all the other big corporations to stay open. That hurt small business and they'll never come back. And the other thing as well is the business rates. They don't help. And they keep saying, oh, we're going to cut business rates, but they don't. Um, so, yeah, I mean, right now it doesn't look good, the high street. I don't know what will bring it back. But yeah, it could come back one day. Who knows? Yeah, I think things have become, there's no more the local butcher or and stuff like that. And people go to these shopping centers, right? There's restaurants in there, everything in there, and it's also indoors, especially with the weather in the UK. But yeah, that's the way I see it. Denny Younghead. Good evening. How do you see the next 5 months of the year in regards to gold stability? Oh, that's a good question. So I'm going to bring up a gold chart because I want to show you guys a gold chart. Here we go. And this is a very long-term chart. So it's a quarterly chart going all the way back to first quarter of 1970 when gold was still at $35 an ounce. So I think, as you can see here, if you look at gold on a quarterly basis, it's very stable. It's not that volatile at all. Especially, if you go from 2001 to 2011, it was almost a straight line. And yes, we've had a bit of a consolidation up here. And this is how it looks right now. This is on a quarterly basis. So first quarter, as you can see here, let me enlarge it a bit. The high in the first quarter was 2,232, and the low this quarter has been 2,231. So there is no gap on a quarterly basis. So in the next 5 months, I think gold will continue to tick higher. Yeah, we might see daily and weekly or monthly volatility, but yeah, a lot of the smart money, the central banks, they're still accumulating gold. And I think, yeah, the sentiment isn't really that ebullient as it is, let's say, in the tech stocks like Nvidia and others, the Magnificent Seven. So I think it's still early days. And we'll have a look at silver as well, because silver looks interesting. And it's the same chart. And this is logarithmic, so it's a percentage-based chart. And if you look at silver here, this is a quarterly one as well. We are at 29.57, and a lot of people are concerned because it's come back below 30. But if you go back to the first quarter or the first quarter of 2013, silver closed at 28.28. So right now we're higher than that close. And we've got what? We've got a couple of weeks to the end of the quarter. So if we manage to close above 28.28, I think it's very significant. So silver as well looks good. And that's why I tell people, you might want to trade paper gold and paper silver, but that's not really the point of gold and silver. Point of gold and silver is to protect your savings over the long term. So that's how I see it. Hope that helps you and the viewers too. Belly Dance Raven says, Bible, food, water, silver, gold, guns, land, tools, seeds, medicines, good neighbors. Sounds good to me. And a good dog as well. Uh, Dylan Roberts need to get rid of supermarkets. We need more markets. Bitcoin is air, says and info. Just because rich people buy that and people think they have a price is just marketing. Well, yeah, I don't. Uh, Valencia 777 mining stocks should report good earnings in Q2, very undervalued. Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a video today, um, and it's a good YouTube channel. I recommend it. Mining Stock Monkey. He's a really good analyst, and he did a video about Barrick Gold. And I've got some Barrick Gold, and yeah, it's very undervalued. And according to him, Barrick Gold never does well in the first quarter because that's the quarter they use to do a lot of their maintenance. So they usually have bad results. So he thinks Barrick Gold is a very a good proposition, and it pays a dividend as well. This is not financial advice, but I agree. My I don't have too many miners, only four, and they haven't done too well in the last week or two, but that's how it goes. I think the thing with miners and having investments, not just in miners but in stocks, um, I'm not too, you know, I'm more risk averse, but and you gotta if you're gonna invest in miners, uh, gold, silver miners, the juniors, exploration. Yeah, they're all different, and especially the junior exploration companies, they're very speculative. You have to take that into account. And even Barrick and Newmont, the big producers, they can be volatile too. So I wouldn't bet the farm on them, but it's good to have exposure because yeah, they're undervalued, especially with where gold has been. Michael Kennedy, yeah, Ted Butler passed away. I didn't know it was from cancer. Uh, Slava Key says hello, Mario. Hi, Slava Key. Kaz Rose got, can Eurodollar Bank create digital US dollar out of thin air? I don't know what you mean by Eurodollar Bank. Um, Eurodollars are just dollars lent and dollars that are used overseas. It's a term that started back in the 60s when Europe had surpluses of dollars and they started trading it in London, the Eurodollar market. That's all it is. But there's no bank that creates Eurodollars. But yeah, they're just dollars that are created within the US banking system, and they flow out into Europe or Asia, everywhere. Doesn't have to. It started out in Europe, and that's why it's called Eurodollar. There used to be also Euro sterling, Euro marks. They're just currencies that are traded in, abroad. Like sterling was traded maybe in Europe, or the marks were traded in London. They were called Euro marks. And Durarama, what do you think of Powell stating 60-ish banks being problematic? Well, I guess it's significant because he usually doesn't specify things like that. I guess that must have been at the latest press conference. I didn't watch it. It's not surprising though, because the banks have been in trouble since, let's say, late 2022. If you look at those FDIC losses, I know the latest one was 500 odd billion, but that's normal. It's been normal since 2022. And the reason that's happening is because Treasury and mortgage-backed security yields have been rising, and a lot of banks hold those securities as assets, and that hurts their balance sheets. Right now, Treasury yields are a bit under control, so I think the banking system is okay, but I wouldn't want to have more than I wouldn't want to have more than I need to in any bank, let alone over 250,000, which is over the FDIC limit. Vicky, hello people. This is coming from Montana. I follow Monaco 64. Great information. Thank you. We're headed for trouble here. I think as well, the trouble is the currency, and many people don't think like that, especially in the United States. And I'm not having a go at Americans. It's just that the dollar has been such a solid currency for like 100 years that people don't worry about it in terms of value, but I think we have to. Also here in Europe. But in terms of the stock market as well, I was speaking to a friend a week or two ago, and I noticed that the Nasdaq is like making new highs. So is the S&P. But then you look at the Dow Industrials, that's not making highs. It's actually coming off. And so is the Dow Transports. So even the stock market seems to be in trouble. So we'll have to see. Hizia 18, do you think central banks are starting to do bank runs by reclaiming their gold from LBMA and COMEX? Well, yeah, I think they've been doing it since 2022, uh, especially after the freezing of Russian uh, reserves abroad. Yeah, that is kind of a bank run, isn't it? Taking your uh, credit deposits, because that's what they are, and converting them into real money and bringing them home. A lot of central banks, though, I think still keep their gold at the Bank of England and maybe at the New York Fed. But I saw that recently, I think it was the Central Bank of India, the Reserve Bank of India, they brought back over 100 tons from London. So yeah, there is kind of a bank run. And I think 2022 was the most net gold bought since the setup of the Bretton Woods system in 1944-45. And then 2023 was pretty close to that record again. And 2024 has started with a bang too. So yeah, I think it's going to continue. Seth, yeah, I like I have Newmont too. Those are my big producers investment, Barrick and Newmont. But I think Barrick looks interesting too. I recommend that mining stock monkey. Look him up on YouTube. He's done a really good video about Barrick. Buy silver, platinum, and crystallize osmium. I don't have it. Yeah, I I stick to gold and silver. I haven't got any platinum nor crystallized osmium. Andrew Brown, recently, gold and silver spot has been disorderly, as Francis Hunt describes it. What do you think is causing this, and when do you think it stabilizes? Well, I don't know. I just showed a couple of charts that I don't know if you saw those charts. I'm going to show it to you again. I don't think they're disorderly. I think it's more you know, it's more the fiat currencies that are disorderly. So this is gold on a quarterly basis. So it kind of takes out a lot of the noise, the the quarterly chart. So I don't think this looks disorderly, and I think we're in an upward trend in gold. Yes, let's change it to let's go. Let's change it to weekly. So here's the weekly chart. Yeah, I mean, we made a new high here, and then yeah, and then we came down. This was the disorderly week here. That was towards the end of May. But let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, this disorder usually happens 99% of the time in the Asian markets. When the COMEX futures are open, uh, they trade 23 hours a day. When they're open and they're the most illiquid, this is when the bullion banks attack it. But yeah, I don't really see a disorderly gold and silver market. And as I showed you, they look pretty steady on a quarterly basis, so I wouldn't be concerned. And the thing is, if you believe that our monetary systems and our banks are in trouble, and that gold is money and silver as well is well, silver is money too. Gold is more of a long-term store of wealth. Silver is a little more volatile. If you still believe in that, if you believe that they're going to keep, governments are going to keep spending, they're going to keep sending money to the Ukraine, they're going to keep feeding the military industrial complex. There's no reason to be scared. Um, Unless you're trading gold and silver and you're leveraged in futures, yeah, then yeah, you'll be concerned. But if you're buying the real physical thing, if anything, now is a good time, I think, to buy because the premiums are relatively low. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Let me just have a quick sip of my coffee. Why doesn't China just go ahead and sell all of its U.S. treasuries? They could weather the storm better than we could. They have us by the ball since we're mainly a service sector economy that doesn't manufacture much anymore. Well, yeah, that's a good question and a good point. And I've asked myself that question, but I think it was listened to Jim Rickards. He was talking to someone the other day, and he said the last time that the U.S. Treasury issued, uh, I'll show you what it is. These are not U.S. Treasuries, but This is like a bond certificate. It's paper. The last time they issue real paper treasuries were in the 60s. Everything now is run electronically. So if China started dumping treasuries, uh, the Americans would know it right away because they traded in New York. All treasuries are traded in New York or London. And you can bet that there will be probably some kind of event and some kind of false flag, and America would freeze China's treasuries really quickly. So yeah, they're already getting rid of a lot of their treasuries on a net basis, and they're buying a lot of gold with it, I think. So yeah, unfortunately, if they start dumping treasuries, yeah, something like that could happen. And that's one of the reasons why the BRICS are trying to form this well, they're not trying to, they are creating this alternative monetary order, if you want to call it. And it's not a it's not a BRICS currency. I think it's just like a system or an order like we had in the 19th century, where countries had their own currencies, but they had a lot of gold behind it. It was like a gold standard, and I think that's what the BRICS are doing. Um, yeah, and I think it's one of the reasons why as well, though, that the Americans are keeping rates high, relatively high, and the Fed hasn't cut yet because it's trying to keep the Chinese from selling the treasuries because Chinese government bonds, they yield a lot less. I think they had a 50-year government bond issue in China, and the coupon is 2.5%, the yield. So that's why I think the Fed hasn't cut rates, because not just China, but a lot of countries would start dumping treasuries or dollars. So yeah, Chris, in a world where everyone, the United States played by the rules and it was a free market with no interference, yeah, I agree with you. China should just dump all treasuries, but yeah, it's not gonna happen, unfortunately. It could one day, though. They could sell quite a big amount in one day, and it could get other people to sell it. So, yeah, that would probably be the start of a major war. Not that we don't have uh, that, enough talk about that already. Lysia 18, have you noticed a plight of young people from Canada, UK, US to Southeast Asia and South America? Um, I haven't really looked into that. I wouldn't be surprised. I think, a lot of people are going to like Southeast Asia because the cost of living is a lot lower there. The weather is nicer than in the UK. Yeah, they've unfortunately in the West right now, yeah, we're in decline. And what does that mean? Well, it means that, debt's up to here, currency's losing value, government's taxing people loads, and at the same time, they're trying to keep asset prices high. And by that, I don't mean just the stock market, I mean the bond markets and real estate. So yeah, young people, yeah, they don't, yeah, in general, the prospects for young people in Canada, US, UK, and even Europe is not good. So yeah, that's not the first time it happened. It's happening. It happened in the 19th century when a lot of people left Europe and went to North America and South America. Same kind of environment, unfortunately. Ibrahim Kuyumku says West is best. Yeah, I mean, you still see here in England or in the UK, a lot of people from other countries come here because it's still better here compared to their countries. But it's all relative because 30 years ago, things I think were a lot better than they are now here. There were no food banks, and for example, and people weren't in so much debt. As a young person, you could still get on the property ladder. Rents weren't as high as they were, and yeah, you could still have a good living. Cost of living wasn't as high as it is now. Uh, Ghislaine Van de Walle. I was asking myself if China is dumping U.S. treasuries, there has to be a counterparty buying. Could it be U.S. pension funds? Well, it could be anyone, pension funds, hedge funds, speculators. It's a huge market, the treasury market, and there's always buyers and sellers. It could be the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which is a U.S. Treasury fund that was created out of the gold that Roosevelt confiscated in 1933. What else? Well, the central banks, they can use the futures market to even, they manipulate gold and silver through the futures market. They can manipulate the treasury market through the futures market as well. Um, yeah. So, but I think the trend is for lower treasury prices and higher yields. I still think some people think that we're going to go a lot lower in terms of yields and bonds are going to go up. That could happen if there's a major, a big crash or a correction in the stock market, but it will be short-lived. I think the bull market in bonds that started in 1981 ended in 2021, and now we're in the bear market. So bond yields are going to keep going higher. From 1981 to 2021, it was down, the trend. Yes, you had times when it went up, but it kept, it made lower highs and lower lows, the yields. But now we're going to be getting higher highs and higher lows in yields. Andrew Brown says he's just finished reading The Mandibles. Says brilliant book. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, I highly recommend that book too. And it was one of the viewers that recommended it over 5 years ago, and I couldn't put it down, that book. It's really good. John 14:6, has anyone still not subscribed? Yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Make sure you hit the like button too, and maybe share my videos and yeah, hit the notification bell. Olgi is here. What do you think about Ed Bugos? Talk about Dow down over 50% by the fall. I haven't, I've heard of Ed Bugos. I didn't hear that he said it was going to be down 50% by the fall. I think the Nasdaq has a better chance than being down 50% because the Dow's already down from its all-time highs of just around 40,000. But I don't know. If you look at the Dow and in terms of gold, for example, it's been going down since the year 2000. So it's all a matter of what you measure it in. But it's possible if the Fed um, keeps rates where they are, if bond yields start rising again, that we could have trouble. If there is trouble in the beginning of July vis-a-vis the French bond market, that could spill over into other bond markets. And yeah, it could hurt the Dow, but yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people make forecasts like that. Um, so it could happen, but who knows? I'm not really too I do follow the stock markets, but uh, I think a lot of the stock market is already it's just a few stocks, those magnificent seven who are keeping everything up. The other thing that I think is keeping up the stock markets is all the fiscal spending, all the war spending that they're doing vis-a-vis Ukraine. That helps the military industrial complex. That keeps things going. Jeff Hughes says greetings from sunny Bradenton, Florida. Hi, Jeff. Clifton Murphy, good show. Thank you and happy Father's Day to all. Uh, Farm Dog says George Gammon says nobody in Venezuela wanted his gold. Said gold is pointless. He likes the dollar and pesos. Fine. Well, um, we'll see when in Argentina in 2002, when the whole system collapsed and Argentina defaulted, people were buying and selling stuff with gold and silver jewelry. So, uh, yeah, I've seen that George Gammon has made some travels to Argentina and now Venezuela and gone with a gold coin but yeah, I'm not sure. I still think when push comes to shove, I'm not sure he understands the history of money and how important gold and silver are. George Gammon, he has a good YouTube channel and he's done really well. But I don't agree with him on that. And I don't agree with him on that. Of course, Venezuela, the dollar is still used because the dollar is relatively strong and stable compared to their bolivars or their local currency. But when the dollar goes, they're not going to take it in Venezuela either. They will take gold. And there were some stories 2, 3 years ago, some places in Venezuela, more outside Caracas, like in the more in the south of Venezuela, where people were paying for everything in gold. They were mining the gold from the rivers, and they're going to the supermarket and paying with gold grains of gold or gold dust. So. Yeah, he probably went into Caracas with a 1 ounce gold coin, and people said, "No, I prefer dollars." But yeah, I'm not sure he's carrying these experiments the proper way. Anyway, historically, countries where their currencies collapse, they always go back to gold and silver. James Howe, have you heard of the 18th century book A Fable of the Bees by Bernard de Mandeville? How vice and crime creates economic activity. It's a true story. No, I haven't heard of it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the money is made from vice and crime. I agree. I agree. Des Smith in Golf We Trust. Yeah. I'll be watching hopefully the back nine at the US Open, and when I'm finished here, let's see, let's just check. I haven't checked. Who's is Bryson still ahead? Have a look. Yeah, Bryson is still ahead by a shot over McIlroy. It looks pretty close. Anyway, back to this here. Who will be left with the pile of worthless paper? That's a question from Lee Van Queef. Uh, Unfortunately, it will be pensioners, uh, people who depend on the government for their living, people who get state pensions or who get help from governments, and people who save in worthless paper. Unfortunately, people who have a lot of savings in the bank. And that's why I've been telling people that it's really important to have some gold and silver outside the system since I started this channel in late 2015. Yeah, they will be holding the worthless paper, unfortunately. People who think that gold and silver are volatile and risky and haven't done their homework. And that's what I've been trying to tell people here on this channel. Rob B says Nasara is patriot mythos. Yeah, I mean, there's been talk of Nasara and Gasara for for the last 20 years. I think it's pie in the sky. You got to look after yourself. Yeah, you can't wait for some kind of white hat person to come and help you. You got to look after yourself and not hope for a magic to happen. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Anyway, Pino Kunchner, uh, gold investments are located in the city of London. Which law is there valid? Well, their office is in, yeah, it's in the city of London. They follow UK law. I know what you're trying to get into here. Yeah, the city of London is, how can I say, it is like an enclave, but still follow UK law. So yeah, Gold Investments is still a limited UK company. So yeah, but they are located in the city. That's right. Rob B, state pensions are the downfall of every nation. Fiat currencies as well. We've got a minute to go. If you've got more questions, Scott 49 140. Sadly, the whole West is in deep doo-doo. Yeah, well, that's normal. Empires come and go. And unfortunately, I think, yeah, the West has been on top for a few hundred centuries. So who knows? Maybe we could keep going a while longer, but I don't think it looks very good, unfortunately. but it doesn't mean to say that we can't um, do well on an individual basis. I think we need to try to do the opposite of what the Western leaders do. Then you'll be okay, and also not to depend on them. Any comment on recent elections in South Africa? Um, no, I'm sorry. I haven't followed what's happening there politically. Sometimes it's difficult to follow everything. No, so no comment. Belly Dance Raver, thank you, Mario, and all the great dads out there. You're welcome. Great Sunday, R. Elkas, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it today. Mario, Tory or Labor? Well, I never vote, but my wife, I think she says she's gonna uh, write, I do not consent. So she's gonna spoil her ballot because she says that if they get more than 50% of people spoiling their ballot, that's the end of Parliament. Um, yeah, I don't buy into politics, Tory or Labor. Yeah, because they're not there to help us. So it doesn't make any difference who wins. They're always going to be taking from Peter to give to Paul, unfortunately. Oh, there's Rudy. Rudy, say goodbye to everyone. There you go. Bye. All right. Thank you, John 4:16. God bless everyone here as well. And it was great talking to all of you. And let's end the stream. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.